In this admin training, I'm going to explain to you how you can configure email notifications that are being sent by the Weagree wizard. I'll first of all show you where it works and what it looks like for the end user, and explain a little bit about the basic functionalities, because obviously that's something you need to configure later on. Then I will guide you through the admin tooling relating to that, where you can basically put in your own format, email format with your organization's own look and feel, and how you can configure the notifications, the text of the notifications, and then as the last step, I will explain how you can link those to the various contract sheets. First of all, let's pick an example. I'm going to take this strategic purchasing agreement. This is a signed agreement, and in relation to this agreement, which is being managed in the contract lifecycle management part, you can see here that there's a large bell in the top left corner, and if you click on it, it opens a pop-up. In the pop-up, you can see that this particular contract has 4 relevant dates, and all of them are configured by the end user. So this specific contract, it has a signing date, it has an effective date, it has an expiry date, and there's a latest date for termination. And in connection with each of these dates, you can see grayed out notifications here. Of course, these are the actual dates for this specific contract, and for the grayed out notifications, those have been pre-configured by the administrator, and you can do that yourself, and that's what I'm going to tell you how to do that in this training. What do you see more here? It's probably fairly self-explanatory, but let me still walk you through it. The end user who is careful can actually, for this specific contract, indicate whether the person, the contract manager, actually wants to receive the notifications that relate to this, and untick them in the last column. So you can basically fine-tune it as a contract manager, but for the careless contract manager, you want to have certain notifications predefined, like these ones. If you take a closer look at, for example, the notifications linked to the effective date, then what you see is that there is one on this date, so a notification of the first actions, and then that same email, apparently, as it looks like, is repeated 5 days after the effective date. And it sets the difference between the two notifications is the one is at low priority, and the other sets its orange at medium priority. The end user, as I said, can untick it, but the end user also has the possibility to add its own tailor-made notification. So for example, for the expiry date, you may want to have a longer notification period, or a longer notice beforehand, because replacing the supplier, for example, could be a challenging one. And for those cases, the end user may use the plus sign and define opposite to this date at what a period of time, I don't know, for example, 180 days, an expiry notice. Now, the notice that is then being sent should be one of the listed over here, and there is none about it for 120. So let's put in the 120 notice for 180 days period, and the end user who is careful may set an urgency level for what to do, and probably it's at low priority if it's at medium priority for the 125 days example. So this is a user-defined one, and what you then also want to know during this training, I'm going to explain to you later, is how do you create these notifications. So, and the end user can say, I would like to have another notification specifically for on this date, and then I want to have a specific whatever payment done notification, for example, low priority indication. Plus, the end user has the possibility to indicate whether a certain trigger or which of these triggers will automatically create a task. You can see that in the column, create a task when triggered. So when there's a 180 times expiry notice being sent to the contract owner, then it also creates a task on the Kanban. So that's how it works for the end user. Now let's take a look at the administrator tooling, where I'm going to explain how you can configure all this for the end user and provide for pre-configured settings. I'm going to unfold in the contract creation part. The template, the look and feel of the emails is configurable under Configuration Weagree Wizard. If you look down the items of the list, you will see that there are notification templates. You can change the name of the template if that's of any relevance for you, and then edit the email template. And I'm zoomed in so the buttons for save and close are less visible. But if I zoom out again, I'm not going to do that anymore. You can see basically that here's the email template. If you want to modify it, you click use custom text, and if you then put your cursor in it, you can basically see that what it looks like, and you can basically also see, if you go closer and you maximize all this, that you can see the source, and basically that's the HTML source. Doesn't look nice for emails that should show neatly in both a mobile phone, Outlook, and any other email program. But if you do want to use your neatly responsive email format from MailChimp or whatever email formatting provider, you can basically copy paste it over here and make sure basically one thing, which is that there's the tag body inserted. Body at the place where the email text that is ultimately being sent is going to be replacing this tag, of course. So here will ultimately be the email text, and then for the rest your template can be as you copy paste it. Let me now, well, you can save it or close it as you wish, and if you don't want to modify it over here or modify anything to your liking, you can also add for different languages different formats, so that, for example, the footer in this email will be different for Dutch language, French language, whichever portal languages you have activated for Weagree. And here is basically the email notification template. Then within the Weagree Wizard, there are several big functionalities of the Weagree Wizard that are sending emails. Let me take a quick look at it. Under users and licenses, there are notifications that relate to how do you want to invite guests in your contract. So there are two notification texts, standard texts for inviting a guest. For someone who's forgotten the password, there's a standard forgot password email notification. The text of that can be modified as well, and you would do so by clicking on the edit email text. Then emails are also being sent in the framework of approval workflows, where of course the approvers and submitters and everything that is related to workflow approvers would send each other emails also when they are going to discuss items during the approval process. Those notifications are here. And then for entity management, there are notifications. For example, if the director's passport expired, then you would want an email to be sent to either the administrator of the system or to the managing director that he or she hands in the copy of the renewed passport, and you can indicate which triggers basically will trigger a notification within the entity management. For the contract lifecycle management, that's where we took the example, where we started this training. You will see that the list here with notifications, standard texts relating to it, is actually the list that you just saw when I opened the drop down in the pop-up at the beginning. You might remember that there was the one about expiry of 120 days, and the text of it is over here. If you would like to make this more flexible or so, you would want to modify this text, and you probably also want to modify the description of it, just click on the notification name or description, and you will be able to change it over here. Don't forget to save the changes. Then how does it work? For the rest, you basically indicate here the email subject. That's for ease of reference. If the description that you've given to your emails is not at once clear, then probably maybe the email subject line is. If you click, you get a preview of the email notification that's being sent. What you do see now is basically the Weagree standard notification. And what you also see, and that's maybe a little bit awkward the way it looks over here, is there are, of course, tags. You want to address the person you're going to send it to by their given name. So, Dear Willem, the term of this of the contract with Weagree BV entitled Super License and Fantastic Contract Lifecycle Services, described as, well, then basically that should be the description that you keep in your own register. Is about to extend it automatically. And then you have your email notification text being expiry is approaching in 120 days, so blah, blah, blah. And the contract details can be found here. And then this is a tag contract entry URL. Clearly, this is going to convert in the description URL of the actual contract that is going to send this notification. And so if the recipient of this email is going to click on that email, on that link, when they log in to Weagree, they will arrive straight into that particular contract that is linked over here. So that's very convenient and basically makes your contracts absolutely actionable. Let's see how it works with the contract text then. I would basically, if I want to modify the email text, I would click on the pen next to it. And what you see here is that you can now modify the email subject as it will be sent, and you will see the text, and I can actually change it to my liking. So if I don't want to have the Weagree team here mentioned, I can, for example, and I'm not sure what, but you can basically select from a number of tags and take your time to take a look at it. They are somewhat self-explanatory, the tags that you can actually insert over here and follow a fairly strict format. If you want this to be bold print or in italics, for example, you can do so. Simply select the tag, as I do over here, and you can make it here bold, italic, and probably underline if you wish or not. Just how you would like to have it. That's how you basically write any notification. And if you would like to create a new one, you would click on Insert. Now let's take a look at how we can possibly configure those email notifications for any specific CLM contract entry. These notifications are, of course, defined differently because for each and every contract you have different dates, different notifications to be sent. For confidentiality agreements, you might have an expiry notice period, but probably it simply expires. You might have in distributorship agreement or in bigger project-related agreement, you might have numerous notifications. In a construction agreement, you might have hundreds of deadlines as of the effective date, and those are being sent and defined on the CLM contract sheet. I'm going to pick one of them over here. Now, the contract that we've just been, that I've just showed you at the beginning, managed through the contract sheet for general non-allocated contracts. There are, by the way, 43 contracts in this demo portal actually managed through this contract sheet. If you click on it, you come into the CLM contract sheet tooling for making your changes, and that's for the other training. But if you would like to configure the notifications, you will see that there's a separate sub-tab for these general non-allocated contracts. And what you will recognize over here then is that basically there is a number of notifications here listed, where as opposed to the effective date, you can see that it is pre-configured X days after. It will send the notice over here. It will trigger, for example, automatically a task to be created and to show up on the Kanban. And you might also want to define that in relation to latest day for termination, so that you have a task predefined, and that's for another training. Now, if you would like to add yet another notification for the contract sheet, you would define it over here and click on the plus sign and basically indicate as of the certain period, let's say 25 days after, you would want to check that payment is done and put it at low priority. And basically, if you then save your changes, then you will see in all the contracts that this by default is set up, and that people who will bring their contract in the CLM will have this as an option to be switched off. That was what I wanted to explain to you about notifications and configuring notifications in the Weagree Wizard. I hope it is self-explanatory to the largest extent, and I hope you will like it. Thanks a lot.